On number 8, it says the center of a circle is at Q, which is at 0, 5, and it says a radius is drawn from Q to P, which is at 4, 5. What are the coordinates of the endpoint of the diameter that includes the segment PQ? So what you have is that you have a circle. You know that you have a center point, and that center point is at 0, 5. You know that you have a radius that ends on one side at 4, 5. And the question is, what are the coordinates of the endpoint over here? So what you can do is you already know the midpoint of that diameter. And that is, I'm really trying to make that work. That's not going to work much. That's pitiful. You get the idea. So you are finding the coordinates for over here. You already have the midpoint of that line. So you already know that if you were to do the midpoint formula, it's x plus x over 2, y plus y over 2. So what you have is you don't know the coordinate for this x, but you do know the coordinate for that x. You don't know the coordinates for this y, but you do know the coordinates for this y. And you know that in the end, you're going to get 0, 5. So you can split it up and do x plus 4 over 2, and that should equal 0, because this gives you this. And you can do y plus 5 over 2 equals 5, because this gives you this. So basically, you're going to solve this one for your x. So times both sides by 2. You get x plus 4 equals 0 times 2, which is 0. Subtract 4 from both sides. So you get x equals negative 4. Over here, to get y by itself, you multiply both sides by 2. So you get y plus 5 equals 10. Get y by itself, subtract 5 on both sides. So you end up with y equals negative 5. Oh, positive 5. Y equals positive 5. So your endpoints for your other side of the diameter are going to be negative 4, positive 5. On number 9, it says a line segment has endpoints at negative 2 square root 5, 9 square root 2, and 5 square root 5, negative 8 square root 2. What are the coordinates of the midpoint of the line segment? So again, you're finding midpoint. So you're doing x plus x over 2 and y plus y over 2. You know that your x coordinates are negative 2 square root 5 and 5 square root 5. And your y's are 9 square root 2 and negative 8 square root 2. So you just plug those in where they go. So I have negative 2 square root 5 plus 5 square root 5 all over 2. And then 9 square root 2 plus negative 8 square root 2 all over 2. So remember, with your radicals, if you have like radicals, you just deal with the big numbers up front. And so negative 2 square root 5 plus 5 square root 5 is going to be negative 2 plus 5, which is 3, and then keep your square root 5. And all of that's still over 2. Your 9 square root 2 plus negative 8 square root 2, 9 plus negative 8 would be 1, and then your square root 2 stays, and then that's all still over 2. Ten is kind of similar to number 8 that we just did. So it says the center of a circle is located at 0, 4. So you know that you're going to have a circle. You know that you have the center, and the center is at 0, 4. It says the endpoint x of one of the circle's radii is at negative 4, negative 5. So this is going to be x, and this is at negative 4, negative 5. It says segment xy is the diameter of the circle. So that means that there is another point over here that's y, and the line xy, or the line segment xy, is the diameter of the circle, and we want to know where is this. So again, we can use the midpoint formula because we already know the center of that line segment, and so we can say -4 plus some x that's over here at y over 2, and -5 plus some y that's over here at the endpoint y, all over 2, equals the midpoint, which is 0, 4. So remember that the first part is your x, so this and this are equal to each other. -4 plus x over 2 equals 0, and then the -5 plus y over 2 is equal to 4. So now you can solve for x in this one, which means you'll multiply both sides by 2. And so you get -4 plus x equals 0 times 2, which is 0. Add 4 to both sides so that you can get x to be by itself. And you get that x is equal to 4. Over here, you're going to get y by itself, so times both sides by 2. Whenever you do that, those cancel. You're going to get -5 plus y equals, that should be 4 times 2. And so 4 times 2 is 8. Add 5 to both sides so that you can get y to be by itself, and you get that y is equal to 13. So your point y is located at 4, 13. On 11, it says a parallelogram has vertices 5, 0, 3, -3, -4, -3, and -2, 0. The diagonals of the parallelogram intersect at their midpoints. What are the coordinates of the intersection of the diagonals? So for one, you probably want to kind of sketch out what this looks like on a graph. So kind of draw yourself a little makeshift coordinate plane. So you have one point that's at 5, 0, which is going to be over here. You have one that's at 3, -3, which would be somewhere down here. You have one that's at -4, -3, which would be over here. And one that's at -2, 0, which would be over here. So this is sort of what your parallelogram looks like. Now you want the intersection at their midpoints, or at their diagonals. So those are your diagonals. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to find the midpoint of this and this, and a midpoint of this and this. And they should match up because your diagonals should intersect at the same place. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, all right, the midpoint for the yellow ones would be 5, 0, and -4, -3. Those would be the two that I was using at this point. So I would say, okay, 5 plus -4 over 2, and then 0 plus -3 over 2. So that would end up giving me 5 plus -4 is 1 over 2, and then 0 plus -3 is -3 over 2. Alright, I would do the same thing to get my green points, which would be at 3, -3, which is this one, and -2, 0, which is this one. So I would do 3 plus -2 over 2, and then -3 plus 0 over 2. So 3 plus -2 would be 1 over 2, and then -3 plus 0 would be -3 over 2. So the coordinates of the intersection of the diagonals, because these match up, would be 1 over 2, -3 over 2. If for some reason you work this out and you got different midpoints and they weren't the exact same like this is, then that means that you did something wrong and you need to go back and check your work. 12 says a circle has a diameter that extends from 5, -2 to 7, -2. What are the coordinates of the center of the circle? So anytime you're talking about the center, you're talking about the midpoint. So you'd have to have x plus x over 2 and then y plus y over 2. So you would say your x's would be 5 and 7, your y's -2 and -2. So that's going to be 5 plus 7 over 2, and then -2 plus -2 over 2. 5 plus 7, of course, would be 12 over 2, and -2 plus -2 would be -4 over 2. 12 over 2 would be 6, -4 over 2 would be -2.